You don't know the realities of the overall corporate environment when you talk about the risks in each network, the threats which we have in our cybersecurity environment, in the entire landscape, how we integrate with different environments, different third parties, vendors, and partners, how data transfers from one organization to other organization. All these things, they matter a lot, which we do not get to see once we are working in our university level or our degree level education side. So that's the focus of today's session. What is resilience? What is cyber resilience? How all of these things matter to us, and why it is going to be the future, at least for you guys, for the next 5, 10, 15 years, when you are going to be professionals, when you are going to be experienced in this field in the next 15 years, what kind of risks and issues you are going to face, and what direction you need to take. So I'll go through a very basic thing. What happens when natural disasters hit our business? In Pakistan, we have seen a lot. We have seen floods, we have seen earthquakes, we have seen heat waves. We see natural disasters a lot. Across the world, these disasters have caused unimaginable impact and damages. The damage can be for people, the damage can be on your businesses, on the environment, on overall country, overall economy. Just if you see the study for the duration between 2005 to 2014 by the United Nations, the top 10 countries which were impacted by different disasters, Pakistan is one of them. Number 10. We observed 59 big disasters in a span of 10 years, and the impact on our economy was almost $25 billion. Even though it's not comparable to how China suffered, US, Philippines, India, these countries suffered, but if you see from the perspective of what our economy size is, it is a huge impact. So people who are working in this field right now, when they call themselves as disaster management professionals, they go through different disasters and they need to respond one way or another. If we go and see the same data in a different way, every year, if you see the left side of this chart, from 2005 to 2014, it shows the damage in terms of dollars, billions of dollars, and it sums to almost $1.4 trillion over a period of 10 years across the globe. So the disasters which we see, they either impact one country or multiple countries together if it's an earthquake or tsunami. And how many different, you can say, impacts across people, either it was from misplacement, injuries, or deaths. We have seen 1.7 billion total people affected. 1.7 billion, if you see, it's almost 20% of the total population of the world. More than 300,000 people were killed, and zero, if you see the area here, 328,000 people only impacted based on earthquakes and tsunamis. This is a huge number. So why would say that these disasters are able to cause this much impact? Because we are not ready. We don't know what to do sometimes. Some of the organizations you see here, Pakistan Petroleums, Karachi Electric, PIA, Allied Bank, and then internationally you see Aramco, Qatar Gas, Singapore Telecom, Toyota, Sadat, Evergreen. All of these, in very recent history, they have suffered huge disasters or incidents which were caused by very basic issues like power failure, disruption of one pipe because the pressure of the pipe was not measured properly by a system, or there was a cyber attack, there was a, you can say, a terrorist attack, or in the case of Singapore Telecom, the submarine cable which Pakistan relies on heavily, and we see so many times we hear the news, the fishes damaged the cable. Why are all these happening? Because we are always reactive in nature. We don't plan, we don't prepare ourselves. If you see these set of organizations, these are the ones who have seen very highly sophisticated cyber attacks in last 1 year. If you talk about MailChimp, they suffered 3 cyber attacks in 1 year. Pfizer, a huge name in pharmaceuticals, they have suffered cyber attack. Yahoo, Cash App, Proofpoint, T-Mobile, all of these names are very reputable. And it's not that they're not investing in their cybersecurity environment or they're not investing in tools or you can say assessments, exercising, planning. No, they are. They're investing millions of dollars. But still, something is missing, which enables the hackers or the malpractitioners to hack into the system, either retrieve data, leak their data, or encrypt their data for some ransomware. So the threat is real, the risk is real, and it's imminent. It is going to happen to everyone. So what can we do about it? So traditionally, what have we been doing so far when disasters happen across the world? The first thing which we always do is emergency response. We must do something. So let's respond to the incident, respond to the emergency. So if it's a physical incident, we see the police, the ambulances, security services, health and safety departments, or uh, functions. They come into play and they start responding to the emergency or incident because they were never ready. So they all come and try to do things on an ad hoc basis, which is unplanned. Sometimes it's successful and sometimes it fails miserably, which we see as people living in Pakistan. We have seen many number of times different incidents happening, which could have been prevented if the planning was done properly. But what happened? Things went out of hand and the impact was unimaginable. After emergency response, what do? We go for disaster management. Something has drastically happened. Now we need to just recover, we just to manage whatever has happened. We have a disaster management authority from national level and from provincial level, but we all know what kind of arrangements they do, what kind of responses they provide, and what kind of recovery they provide. So what are we left with? We are left with on our own. We need to respond ourselves, we need to prepare ourselves, we need to manage ourselves. But is it how things are done across the world? In the you can say advanced countries, of course not. They have plans in place, they are ready to tackle certain issues. But in third world countries, things are not ready because they are fighting for survival, they are fighting for basic necessities, so they do not have the capability or capacity to invest in these things. Once we are done with the disaster management, we try to salvage whatever is remaining and recover, and then we rebuild and rehabilitate. And it's a cycle which we have been repeating every single year. If it's a flood, it's a earthquake. You talk about Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, all these countries which we see here, they are impacted by disasters every single time they go through this cycle. But they are not, and they're never ready to tackle this before it happens. They do know it's going to happen. So what can we do about it? The disaster and technology era, they required something new, something efficient, not just wait and see and then start responding. So we moved to the first era from recovery perspective, which we called the disaster recovery. In 1960s, I would say, when at least the corporate, very huge organizations, they started transforming towards technology. They were taking the help of different systems which were invented or implemented in those days, even though they were not that efficient that we see, of course, today. But the focus in those days until 1980s used to be only on backups of data, and if something goes wrong, restore it. There were huge magnetic tapes, magnetic, you can say, drives, which were of the size of, in starting with the size of football field, until when they kept reducing, and making things efficient. The backups, the tapes, and the devices, they reduced to a size of maybe one small room or one small cabinet. But was it efficient or was it sufficient? Maybe for those times, yes. But the time which were coming, late 80s and 90s, when there was drastic enhancement in the infrastructure, in the technology environment, and the way our systems and computers advanced, just relying on data backups was not sufficient at all. Then we moved from 1980s, the late, I would say 87, 88, till the new millennium. The focus was to make sure we make our systems and infrastructure more reliable. For that, what we did, we introduced disaster recovery planning. So, disaster recovery planning, even though the word disaster is mainly, you can say, used for anything that can go wrong, but in corporate world, whenever you use the word DRP or disaster recovery plan, it's understood that we're talking about technology. We're talking about IT disaster recovery or technology recovery. So, disaster recovery planning then gave the concept to the technology people, the technology personnel like you, like me, that we need to be ready. We need to think what can go wrong in my systems, in my technology, in my environment, and what can I do to mitigate those issues. So if I have one system and I have implemented that ERP, for example, it has a front end, it has a like middleware, back end, databases, it relies on a network and systems. If power failure happens, what can I do? If a power supply of my key server or a hard drive within my server, it malfunctions or it stops working for some reason, what can I do? If a database gets corrupted, how can I recover my system in a timely fashion? All these things were addressed through disaster recovery. But the entire focus had always been when, because the concept introduced was done by technology professionals, they always limited themselves to technology. As long as my system is working fine, as long as my IT services are up and running, I'm safe or I'm happy. But a business is not just small technology or a data center or a service. A business involves many different aspects. A business involves people, offices, the locations, the equipment, different vendors and third parties, and different, you can say, support environment, which support your overall functionality of the business. So, this is where the terminology came, which we call today as business continuity management. Because disaster recovery was not enough to safeguard my complete business. I'll show you a video just to give you a concept of what business continuity management is all about. But before that, just a very small concept. Anything which you perform today, irrespective you are a business, you are a student, you are a house worker, whoever you are, there are always just six components or enablers, which we call them in the corporate world, the process enablers. As long as these six enablers are available in any environment, you can do your work. Most importantly, the people, the human resource. As long as the staff is available, the work can be performed. As long as the building is available, either you have your office building, you have your school, university, college, any location, or maybe work from home because you are working from home using technology. As long as your location is available, as long as your equipment is available, no matter what kind of equipment you use, even if you are not using any technology, you are somebody who is working on a drilling function, you are a factory worker. As long as the person is available, the factory is available, his equipment is available, and all tools that he needs, they are available, he can perform the work. So the concept of business continuity was to recover not just technology, but to ensure continuity of all process enablers within an organization. So focusing on these six elements, the world moved from disaster recovery to something which we call today as business continuity management.
We live in hazardous times. Every second of every day, somewhere in the world, things are happening. Devastating things. Events that might have consequences that no one can foresee. Natural disasters. And man-made ones. Events that can harm people and businesses. We may not be able to stop them happening, but we can be prepared. When an incident disrupts your business, the clock is ticking. There's no time for hesitation, wondering what you can do, how to respond. It's time for action, decisive action. For companies with business continuity plans, it's time to put them into practice.
The scope of the risk is anything from reputational loss that can be overcome over time, right the way through to a complete collapse of a business. Now, one of the key messages about business continuity is around convincing your customers that you can continue to deliver that service under any circumstance. But it goes further than that. It says to your staff that you care enough about their own well-being and livelihoods that you've thought through your ability to be able to recover.
For companies without plans, an incident can become a crisis. A crisis can become a catastrophe. Following a disaster, around a quarter of businesses never reopen. 80% of companies that don't recover within a month are likely to go out of business. 75% of companies without business continuity plans fail within 3 years. Times are hard for businesses everywhere. Turmoil in the Eurozone, economic slowdown, sovereign debt crises, the credit squeeze, the threat of global recession. Some businesses will survive, some will go under, and it's a fine line in between. But companies that practice business continuity management are resilient. They have analyzed their business and know what their priorities are. They have identified the things that are essential to them and the things they can manage without for a while. They even know for how long. They have developed plans for protecting their people, their business, their stakeholders, their reputation, and they've tested them to make sure they're effective. Their employees are aware of what to do if there's an incident and where they should carry on working from, if necessary. The aim is to get the business back up and running in the shortest possible time. And it works. When businesses were asked if business continuity management mitigated the impact of a disruption, 82% of them said yes. And 74% said they were able to continue delivering key products and services to their customers. In an uncertain world, companies with business continuity plans have an advantage. When the clock is ticking, they're ahead of the game. If ever there was a time when resilience was needed, the time is now.
So there are certain key messages in this video. This is the reason I chose to play this video today in the session. So as if we see who we are computer science graduates, we are cybersecurity professionals in the future. Hopefully, all of you guys will go into some different fields. Even if you are somebody who's focused on software programming, software engineering, project management, database management, all of these elements, they play a very heavy or it's a critical role in the overall cybersecurity of an organization, of any ecosystem. The softwares which we create today, even though it's a very small software, but the moment it becomes live in a corporate environment, in one data center, it becomes part of the overall network. Any loophole, any security weakness, any issue in that small software, even if it's a very basic tool which you have created, is going to make the entire environment vulnerable. And it can cause huge disaster through maybe a cybersecurity breach, an attack, a malware, a virus infection. You never know what can happen. So when we talk about business continuity management, we talk about protecting our business in a way that if something goes wrong, I can recover in the minimum amount of time. It does not mean that I will not have an impact. The damage will happen, impact are going to be there, and services will go down, but they will be recovered within the shortest amount of time and saving your reputation, saving your business, and at least making sure that you continue to operate. I remember like back in the days, I'm talking about early 2000, 2010, Allied Bank had a system outage for almost 1 day. Whenever customers used to go to the branch, the response was, come tomorrow. Systems are down, we cannot do anything, so please come tomorrow. Is this the right response? Maybe in Pakistan, yes, you can accept it because They have the power, they rule, and they can treat us as the way they want. We have seen so many disasters happening very recently, and nobody cares. But can we tolerate this kind of you can say behavior in a corporate environment? We should not, because the moment you go out across the globe, you work in different environments, different organizations, different functions. You see that this mindset that so what, this doesn't work at all. You have to be on top of everything. You have to be ready. You need to have some sort of arrangement, a backup in place that if something goes wrong, what is my plan B? If the plan B fails, what is my plan C? I remember when I was in Pakistan, we did a project for Pakistan Petroleums back in 2010, 2011, and we flew to the Sui field in Balochistan. And while we were there was a missile attack on the oil well and the gas well. And I asked the team in PPL, so what's next? What are you guys going to do? And their answer was, sir, the material which is required, the chemicals which are required to diffuse this kind of fire, we need to import from Dubai. It will take 2 days to arrive, and it is very difficult to pay so quickly. So we will let the well burn and we'll just let it go. We can't do anything else. But is this a real response? For them, it was fine because investing in mitigating this kind of issue would have cost them maybe $500,000. So for a company in Pakistan, even though PPL is a giant, they have amazing revenue, huge numbers. But even for them, spending $500,000 was not acceptable for just one well. So let it go. It's fine. But this let it go, it's fine mindset does not work in the world. Connect this same incident with your day-to-day life. You are all students right now. You create softwares, you create projects in your second year, third year, fourth year projects. Are all those projects or the softwares which you have created or the products you have built, are they secure? If you take them today and try to sell them in an organization that please buy my software, this is doing amazing functionalities, it has amazing features. The first thing they're going to ask is, have you tested these softwares or these services for security features? Have you stress test to make sure that it will continue to operate if simultaneously 1,000 people are going to connect or access this software or the service? So stress testing, load testing, security testing, vulnerability assessment, threat assessment. Are you doing all of these activities today in your day-to-day activities when you talk about software programming or network engineering or software engineering? Typically, we don't because this has never been our focus. And this is where the problem starts happening. After graduation, or maybe sometimes some of you will get jobs even before graduation, you will join software houses where you will go to different meetings, you will meet with the different clients, which will give you their requirements. We need a software to do one, two, three, four, five. I need to create a point of sale system, or you need to create some software which is going to make this kind of features. I need this website. All you will do is make sure that you build the same thing which they have asked for in the minimum amount of time and the best feature possible, and make sure it works. That's it. It should look good. The user interface should be amazing, and the focus has always been and will always be to make sure it is working fine. As long as it's working fine, I can sleep easily. But this is not how the corporate world operates. Because the moment we start focusing on just make sure it works fine, means you are creating loopholes. You're creating threats, vulnerabilities in the system and the environment where your software or your product or your service is going to be introduced. One small error or one small issue in your web page can make the entire website, and connecting to this website, whatever services are being introduced there can make sure all of those services impacted very heavily. So business continuity management makes sure that you are always one step ahead. You know what to do if something goes wrong. So in theory, what is business continuity? It's all about timely recovery of your business. The standard which is used worldwide for business continuity management is the ISO standard for BCM. The number is 22301. Version 2019 is the most latest one. It defines BCM as a holistic management approach that identifies potential threats and their impacts and builds appropriate response strategies and tactics accordingly. What does this all mean? In simple words, implementing BCM allows businesses to recover in an acceptable amount of time. But how does it happen? So, today, right now, we're all sitting in our homes or in our places wherever we are, and we are relaxed. This relaxed time, we call it a business as usual, means today is a normal day. So, today, what you need to think, what can go wrong and can trigger an incident and disrupt my work? Once you answer this question, what can go wrong? Then your question should be, how can it go wrong? So if all of you are in Karachi right now, the first thing which comes in my mind is power outage. Light chali gayi. You can't do anything. So just wait. You should have a UPS, you should have a generator, or just go out and walk, wait for the light to come back. Right? So that's the most basic trigger in any organization, a power outage. A power outage can disrupt your business completely. A water leakage, maybe in the data center, in a building, you can say a pipe burst, AC is not working in a unimaginable heat where I'm living right now in Saudi, in UAE, in Kuwait, in Qatar. A building where ACs stop working within 5 minutes, you are ordered to evacuate and go home because you cannot survive the heat here without AC even for 5 minutes. So who plans for all these things? These are responsibilities of facilities department, people who are engineers, people who are different planners, the builders, not us as cybersecurity professionals. This is how it comes in our mind in this age and your position right now. But the answer is wrong. It is your responsibility. And why is that so? Because in the world, when I talk about disaster recovery, 3 slides before, when we talked that disaster recovery planning started late 1980s until 90s and early 2000, the people who were focused on disaster recovery, they were the same people who then transformed disaster recovery planning to business continuity management. So the initiative was always in the hands of the technology people. They were the ones going to the management and explaining to them how a disruption is going to impact their business, not only from technology perspective, but also from different aspects of the business. So even though business continuity was not purely a technology issue or technology solution, it was owned by technology people. It was initiated by people who belonged from technology services, and then they kept this ownership with them. So when I started in Deloitte back in 2007, or even before that, when I was working in the pharmaceutical company, when I wrote a disaster recovery plan just for a basic recovery of a database and a system, what I was doing something which was just not limited to business like IT. It was talking about business, backups of people. If a person is not available, who is his backup? If something is down, what can we do to recover it? We all went through coronavirus for the past 3 years. There were so many impacts across the world and across different organizations. And they talked about succession planning. If the entire team, entire department is not available, what can we do? For example, let's say we talk about you guys. You are in the university right now, and COVID happened. Five of your key teachers, they are impacted and they are unable to take any courses or any classes. What will you do? Can we say that the entire semester we are going to have no classes and we have to just wait for the teachers to come back? That's not a solution. It's a disaster for you, for the teachers, for the university, everyone. So there has to be some succession planning. If a person is not available, who is the primary backup? If the primary backup is also impacted, who is the secondary backup? If the entire team is not available, what can we do to arrange backups from somewhere else to ensure